Okay, section 2.5. We're going to start off with some vocabulary, and all of this is here. You can pause it and write it down if you want, or you can take a screenshot of it so you have it for later. There's going to be some portions of 2.5 where they ask you to match a phrase or a word with the definition that goes with it. So if you have this, that'll make that process a lot easier. But I'm going to go ahead and read these. The first term that we'll get familiar with is algebraic expression, a combination of variables and numbers using operations and or exponents. Second is a constant, which is a number without a variable. So an example of that might be just the number 5 or the number 14. It can be negative even. But those would be examples of constants. Coefficient, a number next to a variable. Variable is just a letter. So if you've got something like 5x, the coefficient would be the number next to the variable, so the number 5. Next is the word term, any constant, variable, or product or quotient of any constant and or variable. Next is like terms. That's going to be important. Terms that contain the same variables with the same exponents. And I'll emphasize same on this one, same exact variable. So when we're talking about like terms, if you've got 4x and then something like 3x squared, even though they've got the same variable, the x in both of those, they don't have the same exponent. So for them to be like terms, they've got to be exactly the same variable and exponent. So if this x did not have a 2 on it, and it was just 3x, then these would be like terms, and we can add them or subtract them if we want. Next is unlike terms, which is terms that do not have the same variables with the same exponents. We talked about that just a second ago. If you have 4x and 3x squared, those are unlike terms. And degree is the sum of the exponents in a term. So if you've got 4x, the degree of this is just a 1 because the exponent on the x is just 1. If you've got something like 4x squared y to the third, the degree of that one, again, you're going to add the exponents. Sum is addition. So you're going to add the exponents. We've got a 2 there. We've got a 3. And if you add that, the degree is 5 in that case. First example, simplify. We've got 5x minus 8y plus 8x plus 9y. For these, you want to look for like terms when you're adding or subtracting, and we want to put those together. So here we've got 5x and 8x. They've got the same variable, x, and their exponents are the same on both of those, so they are like terms. And then also we've got the y terms we can put together. We've got negative 8y. Make sure you do consider the fact that that has a minus in front of it. That's negative 8. And then we've got positive 9. And when you combine these, you're going to put the numbers in front together. 5 and 8 is 13x. And then negative 8 and positive 9. If you put negative 8 plus 9, if you think about that, you'll get a positive 1. Y. And for our final answers, we're not going to put a 1 in front of a variable. You'll leave that off. So 13x plus y, 1y. Second example, doing the same thing, simplifying. 6x plus 6y minus 7x. Again, we are going to add like terms. So we've got the 6x and the negative 7x that we can put together. Make sure you keep in mind when we put like terms together, we combine the coefficients, the numbers in front. So the 6 minus 7 actually gives you negative 1x. And then that 6y doesn't have any, it doesn't have another like term to go with it. So it'll just stay 6y. And if you remember what I said on the last example, we're going to leave 1 off in front of a variable. You do still want the minus though. So this is negative x plus 6y. Number 3, simplify 2x plus 5y squared minus 2 minus y squared minus 4x minus 4. Since we're adding and subtracting with the terms here, you want to figure out which ones are the like terms. We've got 2x. You can put that with the negative 4x. 5y squared and negative y squared. And then also the constants, which are negative 2 and negative 4. Again, make sure you do consider that this is negative 2. That's negative 4. It's a negative 4 with the x. It's a negative, I'll go ahead and write it on here. If you don't have a number written explicitly in front of the variable, you've got a 1 there. So that's negative 1y squared. So let's go ahead and put these together. We've got 2x and negative 4x. So we're going to put the 2 and the negative 4 together. 2 minus 4. Then put the y squareds together. 5y squared and negative 1y squared. So 5 minus 1. And then doing the negative 2 and negative 4. Negative 6, and we don't have any more like terms there, so that's our answer. Number 4, simplifying again. Here we've got something that's a little new. We've got some parentheses, and in front of that parentheses, we've got a 3 butted up against the parentheses. There's nothing in between, just the 3 butted up against the parentheses. And then over here further to the right, we've got a 2 that's butted up against the parentheses. Anytime you have a number butted up to a parentheses, that means you're going to be multiplying that number. So there's 3. We're going to multiply by every term on the inside. I'll go ahead and write multiplication up here. So that's going to be our first step. Is we're going to, this is actually called distribution. We're going to distribute the 3 to the x squared, distribute the 3 to the 3x, distribute it to the 1, and the same with the 2 over here. Everything inside that parentheses, we're going to multiply. So coming down onto the next line, 3 times x squared is just 3x squared. 3 times 3x, so 3 times 3 is 9x. And then 3 times 1. So since we've done the multiplication, we don't need any parentheses anymore. I'm just going to continue on and write what we get from distributing the 2. 2 times x squared. 2 times 3x. And then 2 times 3. And then once we've done that, we're just going to do what we've done on the first 3 examples, which is to put like terms together. So I like to draw a line between the ones that go together. So the x squareds we can put together. The x terms we can put together. And then our constants, the 3 and the 6. So we've got 3x squared and 2x squared that we can combine. Remember, we're just going to put the numbers in front together when we add like terms. We're only adding the coefficients, so the 3 and the 2. The exponent or the variable part does not change, so it stays 3 or 5x squared. When we put the x's together, they're still going to stay x, but the number in front's going to change. 9 and 6 is 15. And then for the 3 plus the 6, got 9. Number 5, simplify. Again, we've got a number butted up against the parentheses. And just a couple of things I want to emphasize here. When we've got that 3 butted up against the parentheses, if it's got a minus in front of it, what you're actually distributing is negative 3. And then on the second one, you might think of it as having a 1 in front. So you've got negative 1 that we're going to distribute and multiply it times everything inside. Okay, so keep that in mind. Negative 3 times 2x here. Negative 3 times 2 is 6, and we've got that x on there. Negative 3 times 3y. Okay, so that takes care of that negative 3. Then moving on to the negative 1 here. Negative 1 times 2x. Negative 1 times 4y. And then next, doing what we've done before, putting our like terms together. We've got two x terms there. We've got some y terms. Again, make sure you notice that it's -6 and -2. -9 and -4. Number 6, doing something a little bit different here. We're evaluating at x equals 3. And what that means when we evaluate is we're going to put in 3 every time we see an x. So this x is actually going to be 3. So we'll rewrite this as 3 cubed. And then we're subtracting 6. The 6 is butted up against that x that we're going to replace. Since they're multiplying, I'm going to write it like this. 6 times x turns into 6 times 3. And then continuing on, be careful that you don't think that this is 3 times 3. 3 cubed actually means 3 times 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, times another 3 is 27, and then 6 times 3 is 18. So the answer is 9. Number 7, again, evaluate at x equals -2. So again, anytime we see an x, we're putting -2 in there. And here we've got a couple x's there. So I'm going to rewrite this, but with the -2's inserted. Be careful here that when you might remember your order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS. So there's an order that you've got to follow when you are going through these operations. The first thing is parentheses, exponents, multiply and divide, addition and subtraction. So again, parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, addition, and subtraction. So in this case, we've got some addition and subtraction going on. We've got some multiplying going on between the 5 and the -2. But we've got exponents that comes before any multiplying or any adding or subtracting. So didn't have parentheses, but we did have exponents. So we're going to deal with those first. So all these ones with exponents, we're going to deal with those. So the -2 to the third power, that means -2 times -2 times -2. -2 times -2 is +4. Times another -2 is going to give you -8. And we've still got the 5 in front of it. All we've done is cube the -2. And then on the next part, we've got -2 squared. That just means -2 times -2, which we did just a minute ago. Negative times negative is +4. And then we'll just do multiplying next, and then we'll do adding and subtracting after that. So 5 times -8. 3 times 4. And then you can solve it however you want to after that. We've got -40 plus 12. And then -6. -28 minus 6. Number 8, evaluate at x equals -2 and y equals -4. So here we've got two things that we're going to be plugging in. Anytime we see an x, we're going to put in a -2. Anytime we see a y, we're going to plug in a -4. So -5 times -2 plus 9. And instead of multiplying y, we've got negative 4 that we're going to multiply, and then plus 5 on the end. Then from there, just multiply the things that we've got to multiply, negative 5 and negative 2. Negative times a negative is positive. And then 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. Plus 5. 10 minus 36. Sometimes you can always use your calculator on these, but sometimes it's helpful to think in terms of a bank. If you've got $10 in the bank and you take out 36, you're going to be in the negative because you didn't have 36 to take out. So here you're at negative 26. If you've got a balance of negative 26 and then you add 5, you're not quite to 0, but you're still in the negative. So negative 21 there. And like I said, you can use calculator to verify this stuff. If you want to practice it in your head, though, that's always a good idea. Number 9, evaluate at x equals negative 2, y equals negative 3, z equals 3. So we've got 3 things that we're inputting here. We've got an x, y, and a z, and all 3 of those things mean different things. So got negative 2 going in for x, negative 3 going in for y, and then 3 in for z. So start out by rewriting all of this. In parentheses, we've got negative 2 plus y, which is negative 3, squared, minus 5. And since 5 is multiplying by z, we want to put parentheses, 5 times 3. And if you know your order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We want to start with any parentheses that has anything that we can do inside of it. Here we have a parentheses that's got something we can do inside of it. So negative 2 plus negative 3, or negative 2 minus 3. Negative 5. So that takes care of the parentheses part. 5 times 3, you can do that. 15. Negative 5 squared, remember that's negative 5 times negative 5. Negative times a negative is positive. 5 and 5 is 25. Number 10, first A, they're going to have 2 things they want you to solve on this one. Simplify, so we'll bring this, we'll condense this as much as we can, and then B, evaluate for x equals negative 5. So any x that we have left, we'll go ahead and insert a negative 5 for it, and then we'll see what number we get from all that. So first off, we're going to simplify. And one thing that we'll start with is the innermost parentheses, 2 plus x. Nothing we can do there, but on the outside, we've got this negative 4 that we can distribute, so we'll start there. This is actually going to take a few different steps, so we'll distribute the negative 4, and then we'll write below what we've got now. So 5x plus 3, still got that big bracket there, and then x, negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x, and then we'll close bracket. And then from there, we've got some like terms inside of this bracket that we can put together. The x and the negative 4x. Remember, there's a 1 in front of that x squared. So when we combine these like terms, we're dealing with the 1 minus 4, 1 and the negative 4. So 5x plus 3, and I'm just going to deal with the 1x and the negative 4x. 1x minus 4x is negative 3x. And then we had that negative 8 there. And then from there, we've got that bracket, that grouping. We've got the negative 3x minus 8. Nothing we can do inside there because they're not like terms. But we do have the 3 on the outside that's butted up against it. So just like with the parentheses, we're going to distribute. So we're going to multiply. So we've got 5x now. 3 times negative 3x is negative 9x. 3 times negative 8, negative 24. And Now we've got like terms we can put together, 5x minus 9x. Those are like terms. We're not going to change the variable part, but we are going to put the numbers together. 5 and negative 9 is negative 4x minus 24. So that's the first part. This would be what you'd put in for A. Simplified negative 4x minus 24. Then we want to evaluate for x equals negative 5. So that number would need to go in for x. And we can do that right here. Negative 4x minus 24. So negative 4 times negative 5 minus 24. Negative 4 times negative 5. Negative times a negative is positive. And in this case, positive 20 minus 24. 20 minus 24, if you think of it in terms of a bank. Again, if you've got $20 in the bank and you take out $24, then you'd be in the negative, negative $4.